It's been an amazing journey, getting to know you more, you getting to know us, getting to know my people, where my people have become your people, and it's been such a wonderful relationship. Actually, before we get to the award, I'd like to call his beautiful wife to join us on stage. There is always someone powerful behind. Still waters run deep. She's very quiet, but she must be a very powerful woman to be with this man.
Good evening. It's nice to be. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me here.
You're very welcome.
So even as you're about to honor Dr. Garvey, we made a call out for a couple of very talented artists to capture Dr. Garvey and his father in an image. And in the process, a very young man from Montreal won the contract to do this painting. And so at this moment, I'd like to invite artist Emmanuel Ayen to the stage to unveil his artwork.
Do you need help? You've done us proud. See, I trust my people. When they chose you, I didn't have to see it till down, and I knew they'll make a good choice. And indeed, you are a good choice, and we love this. This is great. How do you feel going to do this, Gavin?
Excellent.
Thank you. At this moment, we'd like Dr. Garvey to say a word or two to the audience.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Your Royal Majesty, members of the household of Her Majesty, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This is indeed a great moment for me. And I would like to thank Her Royal Highness for this evening, which is very, very special and very warm, shall we say, to my heart, for many, many reasons. One of which, of course, brings me back to Canada, and I spent 9 years here. I can remember my first winter when I wanted to go back home to Jamaica. So I'm glad you brought me back in July, not in February. So it's indeed a pleasure for me to be back in the country in which I was educated, in some sense, primarily, at least at the college level. I had a good education in Jamaica as well. I had the good fortune to meet Queen Vickylextar about a year ago in Suriname. Not for a very long time. We're unfortunate we didn't spend that much time together, maybe 3 or 4 days. But the memory was indelible, and we've communicated since then, because we're in the same space spiritually and in terms of community development and trying to uplift our people. That meeting was the result of the efforts of Dr. Wally, who you just heard before. And I guess he's my nephew now. You can call me Uncle Julius. But his family as well. And his mission is also in line with my mission, is also in line with Queen Vickylextar's mission. And it's a mission to bring us all together as African people. And there's Nana Watu egging me on, who was also present there in Suriname. I was also part of that mission to link the African heritage, the African kings, the African queens with the diaspora. And on that occasion, Dr. Wally created a strong relationship with the Vice President of Suriname, and he was incorporated into the royalty of Africa. And I participated in that, and it was also a very moving event. But, you know, over time, we've been back and forth to Africa many times, and we have experienced the dungeons, the Cape Coast, we have experienced Badagry, and we experienced the year of return 2019, going back to Africa one of many times. But this is a very special time that Dr. Vickylextar has arranged, because I think it's a stepping stone, and I'm very pleased that Dr. Wally is here, because his African Royal Kingdom is something that fits the whole picture of linking us as African people, which I think, as you heard one of the quotes before, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. My father's central work, if you will, was to unite Africans all over the world. He taught us that we were a global people. We didn't really know that before. Many of us were tribal, many of us were ethnic, many of us belonged to this island or that island, or this state in the United States, etc. But he told us that we were one people. And the problem that we have in terms of understanding that is that we've been disconnected from our culture. I think you just heard another one of his quotes, that people without the knowledge of their past history, traditions and cultures, like a tree without roots. Very often we were like a tree without roots. So the mission of my father was to make sure that we had roots, and we appreciated our roots, so we had to know our history. I was brought up in that sort of environment, so I was very well rooted as an African person, and I consider myself, when I wake up in the morning, I know I'm an African. I'm an African who was born in Jamaica, who was partially educated in Canada, who lives in the United States. But wherever I go, I'm an African. It's told us that you don't have to be born in Africa, but Africa is born in you. So that's the important message. But like I said, many of us were disconnected from that. So we need that reconnection with our cultural roots. We can read our history, but we need that connection with our cultural roots and our traditions. And that's what Wally is about, and that's what Queen Vicky is about. If I can call you Queen Vicky, and colloquialism, so it's. Thank you so much. Less formality. But that's what Queen Vicky is about, and that's what I saw in her when I met her in Suriname, and we have communicated, as I mentioned, over that time. It's a brief period of time, but I think we've gotten to know each other fairly well because we're in the same space. And I appreciate, Wally, I'm coming back to you again because your mission is so important. And I know you're traveling, you're just coming back from Nigeria because one of the kings that was with us has passed away recently in Osun State. In Nigeria, so may he rest in peace. It's wonderful to be reconnected with your source, and I'm sure many of you really understand this because we've been through that experience over time. And many of us live in a strange land that doesn't necessarily appreciate who we are as a people. Meaning our traditions and our history and our contributions. to civilization over time. And that's a misconception, or that's a misunderstanding, and that's a miseducation of the system. And even though I received a good education here in Canada, it was an incomplete education. Even though I received an education in Jamaica, it was an incomplete education. So I had to educate myself about who I was as an African person over time. And that's the important thing for all of you young people. You need to educate yourself. Nobody can educate you. You need to educate yourself. People can give you information, but you need to educate yourself. And that's the most important thing. Because when you begin to educate yourself, you begin to understand that self-knowledge is the most important knowledge. Because as you educate yourself, you should do that with a critical mind. Don't believe everything that you read. Look at it critically. Think it through. Does it sit right with you as a person?